As the IDF prepares to launch another major military operation in Gaza, the Associated Press reports that Israel is in talks to possibly resettle Palestinians from Gaza to South Sudan, citing 6 people familiar with the matter. South Sudan is the poorest country in the world and one that's also struggling with war and hunger. It's unclear how far along these talks are, but it is not the first time that Israel has reached out to a war-torn African country in an effort to pave the way for mass emigration out of Gaza. Joining us now, David Ignatius, Washington Post foreign affairs columnist and an MSNBC contributor. The prospect of being expelled from their homeland forever is, I think it's fair to say, uniquely sensitive and emotional for the Palestinian people. How real do you think this effort is to displace them, and what might be the consequences?
So, first, Chris, it's hard to imagine anything that could make the tragedy of the Gaza war even worse, but the expulsion of the Palestinian residents would probably qualify. Since yesterday's reporting by the AP that South Sudan was in talks with Israel about accepting Palestinians from Gaza, the South Sudanese Foreign Ministry has issued a statement saying that that's baseless, so we have to be careful about that claim. But it is clear as Israel moves back on the offensive, and Prime Minister Netanyahu, despite objections from the Israeli military, seeks to reclaim control of all of Gaza, that desperate people are going to be even more hard-pressed. And Netanyahu said today that he wants Palestinians to be free to leave voluntarily. It's not clear what that might mean or where they would go. The Israelis have talked to other African countries besides South Sudan about possibly accepting them. The strongest obstacle is Egypt, the country that borders Gaza, which has insisted that it will not allow Gazan Palestinians transit through Egypt to get to anywhere. So we're just in a situation where, as I say, this tragedy gets more painful by the day, and it's just not clear what future these people have.
Well, the IDF today said its chief of staff approved the main framework of the military's plan for the next offensive in Gaza. We don't have many details yet. But what are you going to be looking for? What worries you?
What worries me is the same thing, Chris, that's worried me since the early months of the war, and that is the lack of a clear Israeli plan for governance in the areas that its military seizes and then presumably vacates. Who's going to govern there? How are you going to prevent Gaza from becoming a lawless area where gangs, armed tribal groups run things? That's increasingly the case in Gaza. You need to have a systematic plan to replace the IDF, the Israeli military, with some Palestinian force, not Hamas, that can keep order so that people don't get killed just trying to get to food allocation centers, which is what's been happening. And I still haven't seen that clear plan. Until I do, I just have a sense of despair that this war goes on, in part because there's no plan of what to do next, no plan for what we call the day after.
According to the New York Times, at least 200 Palestinians are in Israeli custody under suspicion of being involved in the October 7th attack. None has been charged or prosecuted. 2,700 have been arrested during the war for suspected ties to Hamas and other militant groups. The entire process of justice is shrouded in secrecy. There's a sweeping gag order. Do you see that as Israel just being overwhelmed by the size and scope of this, or something more troubling?
I frankly can't answer that. The things that Hamas members and others who jumped in did on October 7 are horrifying beyond description. I've watched the detailed videos of what happened, and they deserve all of the investigation and punishment Israeli courts can and should deliver. As to the details of how they're being held, what rules apply, and if any are being violated, I just can't speak to that.
Yeah, and I'm not sure who can. David Ignatius, it's always great to have you on the program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris.